That's the signal.
There it is.
It's off.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Concord Township Zoning Commission for Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025. If everybody would join with me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next on the agenda is roll call. Heather, please.
Mr. Schindler?
Here.
Mr. Eichelise?
Here.
Mr. Peterson?
Here.
Mr. Wertel?
here.
And Mr. Ruppert?
Here. And others in attendance are writing Matheny. How do you pronounce it?
Matheny.
Matheny?
Yes.
Okay. As our legal counsel, and Heather Freeman as our zoning director, secretary for the minutes and everything having to do with zoning. Approval of minutes for May 6th. Any comments, corrections on the minutes?
Mr. Chairman, on page 1, Ms. Matheny, it says there was a fairly recent U.S. Supreme Court case that came out, and the township should probably look the sign regulations. There should be a look at the sign regulations as it relates to political and commercial speech as well.
Okay.
And the following page, number 2, the sentence begins with, however, they could, if it is the right-of-way, it is in the right-of-way.
Who said that?
Ms. Matheny, top of the page. First sentence, or second sentence.
Is in the right of way. Okay. Okay. Any other ones? Well, I have a few. On page 1, bottom of the page, Ms. Matheny is spelled wrong. Top of page 2, Ms. Matheny is spelled wrong.
Is it the second E? The second E
Yes.
that's
The
missing?
second E.
I
It's very
apologize.
common.
I figured that. Under zoning inspector report, Ms. Freeman says, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 bullets down. Third line from the bottom, it says price point with a focus on exceptional customer service, not exception. Then on page 3, middle of the page, Ms. Matheny is spelled wrong. And right above that, I said that the principal use on the site with the possibility to give the excess to the grid, not get. And on page 4, we spelled Miss Matheny correctly. And that's it for me. Any other comments or corrections?
None, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody enter? I will entertain
I'll make a motion,
motion.
Mr. Chairman, to approve the minutes of May the 6th as amended this evening.
And I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose or abstain? None. Minutes are approved. Correspondence for the board, for the commission? Frank?
None, Mr. Chairman.
John?
None, Mr. Chairman.
Rich, number one.
None, Mr. Chairman.
None,
Rich,
Mr.
number
Chairman.
two. Okay, and I had none myself, so no correspondence. Zoning inspector report. The first thing, before we get to your report, do you know anything about the new manufacturing that's coming in? It was in the grapevine.
Yes, I am aware of the company that is planning, that they're negotiating property off of Capitol and Discovery Parkway. They have a purchase agreement in place, but I don't believe it's public yet to name the company, but they are looking at acquiring a significant parcel back there off of Discovery. They need to do some land subdividing first before they can own it outright. But it'll be a good addition to Concord, and we look forward to,
Okay.
seeing their plans and their project, and
How many
that'll be in front of
employees
you
are there?
guys. I don't recall off the top of my head. I can look into that and let you guys know. I didn't have that information with me this evening.
Okay. Now, your inspector report.
Oh. So just a quick update on our May zoning permit activity. We processed 33 zoning permit applications this month. The vast majority of the permits were for residential projects as usual, including 9 fences, 6 new dwelling units, 6 accessory buildings, 4 decks, 3 additions onto homes, 3 swimming pools, a pavilion, and 1 new business. The new business is actually a dance studio that's called Next Step Dance Studio. They're going to be located over at the Concord Plaza. Kind of behind the building is their entrance, though. They don't really have a good storefront, but it's where Nylon Dance Studio used to be years ago. So there's a young girl opening up a new dance studio. It's a new endeavor for her, so that's kind of cool. Additionally, staff completed 125 zoning permit inspections, and we issued 46 certificate of compliances for projects that were completed. You may have noticed, or the BP on Auburn Road, the 7-Eleven gas station there, they closed as of late last week. All the fuel's been removed from the site, and they're no longer operating. I don't really have any information other than that at this time. So hopefully someone will look at that and decide maybe it's profitable to reopen a gas station, possibly.
Could use a car wash.
Amen.
Probably. That was a joke, yeah. We have a really nice one on Grimes.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm gonna, yeah.
Terrible location for that. Yeah. Then just a quick update on the BZA from May. The BZA did have 2 variance applications in front of them. The one application was for a house over on Christopher Court. They wanted to put an addition onto the front of the home, and so they were granted a variance to reduce the front building setback down to 42 feet rather than the 50. But the second variance that they requested and got approved was to allow for the attached accessory building, in this case garage, to be larger than the 1,024 square feet that would have been permitted. And if you recall, that's one of the new regulations that just went into effect in December of 2024. It was the garage with the addition was going to be 1,152 square feet. Wow. So not that much larger than what the resolution stated. And it was like a 3-car garage, but what they had done is they had extra storage space at the back of it, and they were trying to line up the front of the house to make the new front porch and the front of the garage all to be the same plane. So the board did approve both of those variance requests. The other variance application, we kind of see a lot of this, was a lot over on Chandler Court in Eagle Point, that newer subdivision over there. It was a corner lot, and the property owner wanted to install a white privacy fence to enclose their rear yard. The resolution states that if you come into the front yard, so if you kind of project towards the side street with your fence, the fence can only be 4 feet tall. So he wanted to come out 14 feet and then bring it down about 56 feet along the right of way, still out, well, it still was within the property line, and wanted to go with the 6-foot fence so they could enclose a larger part of their backyard. And that variance was also approved.
Good common sense approvals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
That's all I have for you tonight.
Okay, thank you very much.
May I, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
Heather, the last meeting, and my recollection, you mentioned the trustees were scheduling a planning meeting, sorts, as they were going to engage a consultant.
Oh.
Am I correct?
Not a planning meeting quite yet. So we put out the RFP. The RFP is out. They did issue that. It's still active. The responses are due June 10th.
Okay.
So once we receive those responses, we'll go through those and potentially schedule interviews with any of the planning consultants that may have met the requirements for the project.
Okay. So once the consultant is retained, there could be some engagement of this board.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
okay.
would definitely think that there would be opportunities
Okay.
for the board. I don't know if it probably wouldn't be at a zoning commission meeting, but we're going to work and figure out all the different public participation and
Okay.
make sure that everyone's involved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Thanks. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, public participation. Do we have anybody on the phone? No? Nobody in the audience? Okay, we have no public participation. New business? Anybody have any new business?
None, Mr. Chairman.
No.
We had said last month that we would like to take a look at signs. So let's put that on the next go around after we get done with what we have here. Any
Yeah.
problem with that?
Well, and I believe Brady did send some information about the case that we referenced.
did.
So hopefully, maybe you guys have gotten a chance to read through it. But, and I think Brady and I would probably want to take a little bit of time and look at what we have currently in the regulations, and then come up with some suggestions, and then bring that to you guys.
Okay.
So we could probably have that in a few months. Maybe not for next month.
Okay.
I don't think. I don't think we can do it that quick.
I'm not saying next
So,
month.
but yes, that could
let's
be our
start
next
it.
big item for sure. Yes.
Okay.
Let's start.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, old business. Here's our work session for tonight. We have 9 amendments in our package. What I'd like to do is go through each one of them and then come back and take a vote on each one of them. So let's go. I don't think, oh no, wait, let me think about that. Can we go Amendment 1, vote on Amendment 1?
Well,
should we
Mr.
go
Chairman,
through them now?
yeah, so Mr. Chairman, the first we need, so if you recall at the last meeting, we were trying to finalize the amendments, and I think what we were planning on doing is, these are the kind of like the draft final versions of the amendments that we had been discussing over the last several months. And then if everyone is good with what we have tonight, and if you're ready to kind of move forward, then we would need a motion and a first and a second from the board to set a public hearing. And I would recommend that we set it for our July 1st meeting at 7 p.m. That would be within the time frame that the Ohio Revised
Okay.
Code requires us to do. So we would not have to vote on them individually at this point. It would be, if after we discuss all of this, if everyone's comfortable and wants to move forward with the process, we would vote to set the public hearing for next
Oh,
month.
so we don't have to vote on them tonight?
It's a work session.
No,
This is still a work session.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's even better. Okay, do you want to walk us through each amendment, Heather?
I can, yes, so, I don't know how detailed we want to go, but, so I did provide the packet here for you. I broke it down basically in 9 different amendments, just because it's 9 different sections of the zoning resolution. So if you recall, section 6, these were to revise under the general requirements, the 601B agricultural uses. And 602K, the prohibited uses, to cross-reference the adult use cannabis operators. And originally, we were talking about adding another cross-reference to the electric vehicle charging station resolution that was adopted by the trustees previously. But after some discussion with council and the fire department, we knew that there were a few changes that need to be made in that resolution. based on already trying to enforce it from the fire prevention side. And that the better thought process was to add it to our zoning resolution. So what I proposed for you tonight that we haven't discussed really much is amendment number 6. So, and that is electric vehicle charging stations. So if you want to flip to maybe that.
So you're
what
going
I
from
was-
1 to 6, instead of going down through it, you're going to go from 1 to 6.
Well,
And you want to discuss
because
6.
one is-
Because
I feel like that's the one we haven't really discussed.
we haven't
Yeah.
discussed it, correct?
Yeah, I
understand
mean,
that.
everything else we've kind of discussed. And
And we're kind of at that, just so I understand where you're going with this. So, and I agree with it.
Okay.
I think I agree with it. I think I agree with where you're going with this. Is that the new one, right? 6, that we haven't discussed. We already know that we're going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 on for the July. Is that what you're saying?
No,
Oh.
nothing's set for next
Okay.
month.
Just
Yeah,
wanna make sure.
all of this is up in the air.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can, yeah, it's, you guys can do whatever.
So you want to go
want.
amendment number 6?
Yeah, I mean, I can still go in
Perfect.
order if you prefer.
No?
No, go ahead.
Okay,
Follow along.
okay.
I'm adaptable.
Yeah. So I kind of use the purple sheets to separate these.
Great
but-
job on that, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes. It's
The
good for
elec-
note taking too.
Yeah. So this is very similar to what was in the resolution that the trustees adopted, and what we included in here was a purpose statement, one new specific definition that is really, that's applicable to this section, and then some general and specific requirements. The goal of this is to regulate electric vehicle charging stations that are going to be accessory uses in our commercial districts, and then on properties that have non-residential uses on a residential property. So like if the church decided that they wanted to put an EV charging station in their parking lot, these rules would apply. If Grist Mill Village or any of the shopping centers on Cryle Road or any of those property owners wanted to add a EV charging station to their parking lot, these are the regulations that would apply.
But not residential chargers, correct?
Correct. We're not regulating any residential.
Okay.
Okay.
And these are specifically the level 2, 3, and 4 chargers. So, I mean, it has basic kind of requirements that any resolution would have, where is it allowed? Specific requirements like locational requirements. And these were all recommended really from the fire department and the white paper that a lot of the fire code officials put together when these started becoming more prevalent in Ohio. It's my understanding the fire code and the building codes really don't address these in an adequate manner for what the fire department feels needs to be. And from a zoning standpoint, we don't have anything on the books either. So if we wanted to manage these with new properties or existing properties, these are the rules that we'd be looking at. So locational, making sure they're set back from the property lines. You can see in 1904A, we have the setback requirements there. If you're going to, I mean, I don't want to necessarily read through all of this. I guess if you have questions about it, I'm happy to answer them, but it has, setbacks, height restrictions, a lot of the same stuff you see in zoning.
I do have a couple questions.
Yeah.
Because I did read through this.
Okay, and I can try to answer them.
I don't want to jump you, Rich.
No, go ahead.
Take precedence.
You're
Okay.
probably going to ask what I'm going to ask.
I bet you. Two things that jumped out at me.
Okay.
Okay, and we don't need to get too deep in the weeds, but I've been a part of projects that have EV charging stations on them.
Yeah.
Okay, and section 19.04 specific requirements G
4. G.
Right.
shall not be installed any parking structures. That's my first question.
Yeah.
And I there's two sides. I mean, I kind of understand. And then an I shall not include overhead canopies. Okay.
Yeah.
And I have questions about the overhead canopies. Not as much the parking structures, because if fire says no because of those reasons, that's one thing. But I've been involved with two projects specifically that are commercial. It fits right into our category, okay? And they actually have almost like a carport that they pull under, so that because if it is rainy, you still got to charge your car, and they put them in a carport. And my only concern with shall not include overhead canopies is that you're limiting that from occurring. And I personally, like I said again, I've personally been a part of projects where they actually have them in a carport for that reason. So,
So if
you
it's
go-
raining, can you not charge them
you can,
outside?
but
I'm just
it's like
curious.
when you
Yeah.
pull to get gas, right?
Yeah.
All gas stations have canopies over the top of them,
Yeah.
right? But we're saying that these can't
Mm-hmm.
at all, and I think that that might be something. I want to know why.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
I hate to put stuff.
Yeah, I
on you
know,
out there.
and my best answer to that, and maybe Brady can chime in, would be that was what was recommended by the fire department.
Isn't that in our resolution? Right?
It's currently in our resolution
Yeah.
that the trustees have already adopted. too.
Oh, they okay.
Yeah.
So we already have
So
it.
it's a
Yeah.
non-starter.
Well, no, it's not that it's not a non-starter. I mean, here we
Yeah.
are. This is now going to be a zoning. If we're going to go with
Yeah.
a zoning amendment, we certainly can, make changes or.
Right.
But you probably would want to know the reasons for that. I would assume, but I mean, they say about assumption.
Right.
Yeah.
That it's a safety issue. I assume.
Right.
I mean, who knows how low the canopy would be? But I mean, like the tall ones at like the gas station, maybe that would be far enough. I don't know, but I would assume it's
But that
a
was.
safety issue.
I didn't want to interrupt John, but
No.
that's the one I was
Okay.
questioning.
I'm good.
But I was going to start with, because of what Brady just said. Why did the trustees not wait for us? Why did the trustees pass a resolution on something we haven't done yet? What was the why did they move forward without us proposing it?
Was this in 2023, a couple years
I
ago?
believe this was in 2023
Yeah, probably
before you
prior.
were even our
For sure,
council.
for sure.
Yeah, and
But it-
Oh, okay,
at the
so
time,
why-
at the time, the fire department was talking to the trustees. They had a lot of concerns about these coming into our community with no regulations, and they wanted to get in front of it. And so they kind of worked with me a little bit because not really much, but because it does have some kind of zoning setback standards in here, so I kind of assisted them with the process, but they kind of really leaned into this with the trustees and got them to adopt what we currently have, which is very, very similar to this. One minor little, a couple minor little tweaks. But the issue was that there was supposed to be an update to the fire code or the building code to address these, and it was supposed to be coming like around now, I believe, and they recently found out that it is not going to be in the next update. And with the changes that they want to do, after discussing this with our new law director and everything, the idea was this would be better to put into the zoning resolution, which I think it is too, because if you think about it, if somebody needs to deviate from the trustee resolution, I don't even know how that really works. But if we have it in the zoning resolution, we already have a process in place. If there's something they can't comply with, they could go to the BZA. So I don't think they did it
it's the stuff
without your input necessarily. It was more to get in front of there's a safety concern about these, and we don't have any regulations. We won't even know where they're going to be at or have any say in where they kind of go. And that's why the trustees were able to adopt that resolution. I think it's a little bit more, it's quicker. It's quicker to adopt a trustee resolution too than to go through a zoning text amendment.
Again,
So what we were gonna do if you guys are on board with this and if this moves through with the process, that we would keep both in place, and then when this would become effective, they would rescind or withdraw or whatever they need to do officially with the trustee resolution. But looking at other communities, a lot of these are in the zoning text.
yeah,
So,
yes, they are.
Yeah.
So they would have to go to BZA if they want to put a canopy on it?
Unless we
Yes.
change the regulation.
Yes.
Well, I think what John's saying, could we ask?
Right.
Seems unusual. It seems really unusual.
It does. I mean, there's charging stations.
Seems unusual,
There's
yeah.
charging station, parking garages everywhere.
Parking garage everywhere,
Yeah.
everywhere,
And-
structure everywhere.
Parking
right.
garages.
Yeah,
They give them their designated spots now.
Yeah.
that's true.
Gets in the way. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
So you could see like somebody at a business, they would want to install the canopy and then put their charger under it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
People get out, plug in, they don't want to stand out in the rain, so
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
sheets,
I don't think, I mean, we're in Northeast Ohio. I mean, snow,
Yeah.
rain. We
We don't have people doing those now, like in parking
mean,
lots.
The
So
hospital, if there's a parking structure constructed at the hospital, they
Right.
have them in there all the time.
Sure.
yeah,
I have several of my OEM customers I deal with, in their parking lots, they put canopies on already, just for their employees.
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
I just agree.
I mean, it's,
Good question.
I don't have a solid answer on that,
Well, okay,
Other
so
than it
can we
was-
do this? If, what's that? If it's-
TBD.
TBD, or if it is a safety issue, all I want to know is why.
Yeah,
If you, give me a reason, I mean, I'm not gonna
yeah, right.
beat the heck out of this too much, but at the same token, you're gonna have a developer or somebody or whomever have to go through a BZA to put up a canopy instead of just.
Right, right. You're right.
The only reason could be battery fire. That's the only
It's the
reason.
only reason,
Yeah.
I mean,
But would that really present a safety with the canopy?
Well, depending on how high the canopy was and what it was made out of. If those batteries do get quite hot.
Yeah, but they're gonna hose it from the ground level anyway.
Yeah.
just as food for thought, I mean, I think it's something, I just wanna know why. That's the only two that I had an issue with, or question.
Good ones.
Well, I had one or two questions. Where's the first one? First one is on page 19.1. Shall be inspected once a year under item C. By whom? Do we have an inspection?
Fire department, probably.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Proof of inspection shall be made available to the authority having jurisdiction. I would assume that would be the fire department.
Right.
So I just asked the question, who's responsible for the inspection? The owner?
Oh, that could be inferred, Hiram, I agree. It could be inferred that they're saying, okay, now you contract it out and provide us with an inspection report, as opposed to the fire department saying, this is something kind
Yeah,
of, yeah.
so,
Yeah, I think it's a good question.
Oh,
Just to define who's responsible for the inspection.
Like your lawn sprinklers. The
Yeah.
Backflow.
Yeah, backflow. Same thing.
so, that was number one. Number
well, I
two,
think,
Yeah.
so you want that to be clarified?
shall
I'm
be
sorry.
inspected once
Yeah.
a year by the owner.
Is it by then?
Well, I mean, whoever, I would say,
By a license.
it doesn't matter like by whom's inspect, I mean, we don't want the owner to inspect it, but like they have to probably hire like an electrician or whoever it is to come and
Correct, but
inspect
it's
it.
Third
but-
party.
And they
Third
contract
party,
it
and then
out.
they submit
Right.
it.
Do we need to say that or?
No, I think Hiram's question is, he's presuming the fire department is doing these annual inspections or something.
No,
No,
I'm assuming
yeah.
that the fire department is the authority having jurisdiction.
Correct, and the
Yeah.
question is, do they also perform the inspections?
Well,
Isn't that your
that,
question?
I didn't.
No, the fire department wouldn't be the one doing
Oh,
I
the
didn't think
inspection the
so.
way I read it, because we're saying that the proof shall be made available to them if they request it.
Mm-hmm.
So as the property owner or the owner
it's
of
by the
whoever's
owner.
in charge of the
Infer-
charger, it's their responsibility to get it inspected
Of the
once a year.
Parking lot or,
Who inspects gas pumps?
I don't
That's
know.
the auditor.
Auditor.
The auditor, yeah.
the auditor.
Well, the auditor.
I mean, for
weights
different
and
things,
measures.
yeah, I mean, inspecting it for what?
But
Yeah.
Safety wise.
life safety is fire.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I can get clarification on that.
Okay.
And then next question I have is on 19.2, item P, Papa, under 1904. At least one portable fire extinguisher rated for electrical fire shall be provided for any single or each group of EVCS. A group to me means more than one, or two, or three, or four, or five, whatever. But you ought to have one for any single or each group of EVCSs.
I'm sorry, which one are you on? 1904 what?
P.
P,
P?
P.
So you're saying it's required no matter what, if you have one or.
If you have one, you
Yeah.
still needed
Yes,
you still need a fire extinguisher.
You're correct in that.
And
They're-
one
they're-
is not a group.
They're
right?
concerned.
I would assume one's not a group, is
Right.
it? I
That's
don't
true.
know.
It's not.
I mean, so if you would put in, shall be provided for any single or group of EVCS. And that's all that I had, plus the canopy, but I had a Y on that one. Any other comments on section 6?
Minor one, Mr. Chairman. In section 1902, the definition refers to public or private. So I guess I'm trying to understand.
Oh, that's
A public-
true. You're right.
I can answer that.
Yeah, okay.
This is why we were changing it, honestly.
Oh,
So we had a business install an EV charging station, and it was not going to be offered to any patrons of the business, but they were using it for the business themselves. And they said, well, that's not public,
Oh, it's private.
that's private.
Private, commercial
Your
private.
regulations don't apply.
Yeah.
So one of the main reasons why we were trying to update this was to make sure that the language was clear that we were going to regulate those as well.
Makes sense. Thank
Yeah, yeah. So.
thank you.
That's private. Oh, boy. Okay, all right.
Yeah. Hey, at least I could answer one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other comments on Amendment 6?
Well, I think this is a very good start.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is too.
All right, so go back in order then.
Go back,
See what you did there, Heather?
go back
Sorry,
to number
yeah.
1 now.
Okay.
No, that's fine, that's fine. Yeah.
2.
Too, yeah.
So we
Rush
kind
and
of,
easy now, Hiram.
yeah, I think
Which
so,
is
yeah.
actually 6.
They've already been discussed, right?
Yeah, and then under
Amendment
the
two.
section.
Which one we on?
Amendment number 2,
Okay.
section 11, zoning permit.
Okay.
This was to add in a reference that we would, under 1101, that we would require a zoning permit for the small solar energy system.
Okay.
And then,
Comments on that one? Please no.
I think we got that one down.
No.
Okay.
and then amendment number 3 was to revise section 13, the conditional use permit. Now, these changes are necessary due to the other changes that we're proposing under section 15 and 22.
Right.
So because we are looking at potentially removing some of these uses from some of the districts, I had to go through section 13 and make sure that we were not referencing those districts anymore. And then it created this, we have to renumber everything.
Yep.
So it kind of pushes everything down. But then as I started to go through it, if you look at page 13.6,
6.
you're gonna see a lot of red strikeout here
Right.
under the residential care facility. Make sure we're all there first. Before.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna see a lot of red here, and that's because we're removing, remember, these uses from the R1 and the R4, potentially, but this conditional use permit had a very complicated way to determine the density that was allowed for these different uses, so I had to strike out all of the stuff that related to the R1 and the R4, which is why you're seeing all this.
Yep.
So the gross floor area now would just be, because we're only potentially allowing it in the B1, B2 Gateway Health District, would be 30% of the total lot area. We wouldn't have all these other calculations.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, much more straightforward.
It's straightforward.
Yeah,
Yep.
so
That's
that's
the
why it
first thing I
looks,
thought when I saw that.
that's why
Yeah.
it looks like so much red strike through, and then just keep going through that.
And if you read it and
Yeah.
you remove that out, it's very streamlined.
Yeah,
It's
so
very,
much more
yeah.
simple.
Yes.
Yeah.
It flows very
Same
nicely.
thing with the setbacks.
As a person that wants to do that, it's
Yeah.
concise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very
Right?
easy, yeah.
That's subjective. You're like,
Yep, yeah, yeah. And
Under
that's
D,
same thing.
on 13.7 page, item D, we're going from 60 to 30 feet.
No, because we're taking out R1 and R4 completely.
Yeah.
So 1 and 2 are completely out there. But under 3, under D3, it started to list the B1, B2, GH setback requirements. And what I did is I just kind of moved those up under D, because it didn't make any sense, because we don't have a number 1 and 2 anymore. Why?
Okay.
So it's still keeping the same 30 feet from a side or rear property line.
Okay.
But 50
All right.
feet if abutting the residential.
I just went down to 1 and 2 and I saw 6.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's okay,
Fair,
yeah. That's what I'm saying, it's,
Yeah.
there's a lot here that you're like, why are we taking all this out? Same thing, then on the next page, you'll see I'm striking out the parking setbacks for R1 and R4, and then just kind of streamlining the verbiage on that, not changing anything as far as,
Right.
the requirements.
Taking that out.
Because we didn't talk about changing requirements or anything.
Good.
Okay.
Then you'll see a couple minor changes under 1312. This is related to the library, museum, community center. And then the elimination of the arboretum and camp.
Right. Saw that. Got that.
And then a few other minor changes under the adult group homes, eliminating the B1 from that.
Okay.
Then there will be more numbering changes here. Some of these didn't show up in red for some reason. But then under page 13.23, section 13.27, taking out the automotive services from the gateway business, we talked about, but allowing them in the BX business interchange. And these all coincide with the proposed changes under the table 22.03. That's pretty much the bulk of it, of that section.
Tell me on 13.31, what's
Okay.
going on with the parenthesis at the end of the whole thing? All of section 13.36, 2615 unless noted. What's going on there? The parenthesis at the end of the whole thing.
Yeah, those parentheses, we have in all throughout the zoning resolution, we talk about updates, and we for whatever reason, we put sometimes in here when these sections were, updated or
Yeah,
originally
right.
adopted. So this section number is actually changing, because it was section 13.37. Now, because we're eliminating the camp and arboretum, it's actually going to be 13.36. So
So
that's
the
what this
date
is
to that is when it
reflecting.
was last updated, is what you're saying.
The entire section was adopted on February 6, 2015.
Right.
The red strike through that you're seeing, Hiram, is changing the section number, because this is no longer section 13.37. It's going to be 13.36.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
All of 13.36. I just didn't know why that was there. I don't know.
It's at the end.
Yeah.
It's structuring the number system.
I'm not gonna, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Next amendment.
Okay.
We're on number 4 now?
Yes, amendment number
Okay.
4. This was to revise section 15.02, table 1502-1, the table of uses.
And this kind of just coincides with what we just went, the strikes, the removals of.
Right.
Some of this is in that section 13,
Yep.
right? The elimination of the arboretum and campus conditional uses.
Museum.
And small
For the
solar.
aging. Yeah, and these were some reasons why we had to make some of those changes in 13. So I don't know if there's any questions on any of that. We
Nope.
discussed all of
No
this.
questions on that.
Yeah,
5, small solar.
yes.
I think we beat that to
We
death.
did
Yeah,
that.
I
We
think
did
we're
horses
pretty
on the
good on
ground.
this
we
one,
did
yeah.
Didn't we beat that
Yeah.
to death?
Oh, yeah, I got,
Yeah.
I got my notes from that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. And then we just kind of went through the proposed new section, or amendment number 6, which would be potentially new section 19. I know we have a few questions there. And then amendment number 7, this is to revise section 22.03, the table of uses for the commercial and industrial districts. And And then also to revise 22.10A, the capital district standards. A couple minor changes in uses that we talked about previously. Just a few changes up for the automotive services, general building contractors, the adult group homes, and then you'll see I'm also updating the reference to the innovative site plan development to reflect the new section 13.36 rather than the 3.7.
Okay,
And then adding in the small solar facility.
all right.
Okay.
And then amendments 8 and 9, these are both to delete existing sections 32 and 33
Entirely.
entirely. If you recall, the gas and oil regulations, we cannot enforce those. And the satellite receiving antennas, the dish type, I think we've determined that's kind of outdated technology. It's not really what people are putting in anymore. If we're pretty good with what we have, I can, if you feel comfortable, we could potentially move forward with setting a hearing, and I'm happy to try to get a little bit more information on some of the EV stuff, and maybe bring that back at our first hearing of it if you want, because you can always change it then if you're like, oh well, we don't like the reasoning or whatever. Like if you're like, oh, we want to allow them under canopies, you guys can modify that during your public hearing process. So
Then set it.
yeah,
Why wait?
yeah, it's
Yeah, I'm all ready to
Yeah.
go.
at any time during
I
the
think you
amendment
did a-
process, things can be
you did a
modified by this
wonderful job.
board or the trustees.
Yeah.
You
Unless
know
John
that.
says the fire chief does it. I disagree with fire
I
chief.
disagree with that.
Yeah.
That never happens in my world. I can assure you that the fire chief always wins.
Ditto.
You know,
Yeah,
dealt with that today. Cancel systems are.
But as I mentioned,
Do we have to make a motion to take and put that on the?
yeah, we would need someone to make a motion to
set the public
initiate
hearing.
the zoning text amendments, and I would prefer that someone would maybe read through, at least from the agenda, what the amendments are, and then set a date, second, and then, a vote on that.
So, do you? I can make a motion. All right, I make a motion to set a date of. Do you want me to set the date of July 1st? July 1st, 2025, for the public hearing for the following proposed zoning text amendments. Amendment 1, revise section 6, general requirements as follows. Revise section 6.01B, agricultural uses. Add new section 6.02K, prohibited uses. Amendment number 2, revise section 11.01, zoning permit required. Amendment number 3, revise section 13, conditional use permit. Amendment number 4, revise section 15.02, table 15.02-1, table of uses. Amendment number 5, add new section 18, small solar energy systems. Amendment number 6, add new section 19, electric vehicle charging stations. Amendment number 7, revise section 22.03, table of uses for commercial and industrial districts, and revise 22.10A, capital district standards. Amendment number 8, delete section 32, gas and oil regulations. Amendment number 9, delete section 33, satellite receiving antennas, dish type.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second that motion.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose or abstain? Motion passes. So that's July 1, public hearing on those amendments. Okay, next on the agenda is tabled until July 2026. So we have that, we have a little while to think about that. Next meeting is July 1. It is public hearing and other stuff as it comes up. Do I hear a motion for adjourn?
I would make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second it. I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain? Or nay? Okay, we are adjourned.